Welcome to Xhibition, an Xbox podcast, episode number 58. My name is Samuel Adams, and this is a weekly show dedicated entirely to the world of Xbox, bringing you everything you need to know to keep yourself in the loop. So if you're new to the show, you enjoy what you see or what you hear, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, add the show to your podcast feed of choice, and get it delivered right to you each and every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. But before we dive into this week's news, which includes some fantastic news on Halo Infinite's campaign co-op with a new test flight coming soon, in addition to some other bells and whistles, I did want to give a happy 4th to everybody here in the United States. If you have a nice long weekend off of work, I do hope you enjoy it and find some time to dig into some games. But as I said, this week we are talking about campaign co-op finally coming to Halo Infinite. On top of that, Ubisoft confirms they are going to be a Gamescom, and we did have some controversies this week in the community that led to some responses from the developers of Hypercharged, and on top of that, on the PlayStation side of things, Sony Santa Monica with the team at God of War. We'll talk more about that in a moment, but without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it. When Halo Infinite launched last November, it was a fantastic way to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Halo, and generally the game was positively received, especially in comparison to the reception of the original debut of the gameplay, which was, where the Craig meme spawned from, generally negative in the grand scheme of things when you look back on it. But the Halo name had been redeemed, at least momentarily. Now, unfortunately, that positivity was very brief because suddenly people began to realize, A, there's not much content here, B, the roadmap is pretty long, and on top of that, some core gameplay mechanics are just simply missing from the game. Core experiences that many people have come to expect in a Halo game. Forge is a big one that comes to mind, and that's a different conversation for a different day. But two others that I think are very, very prominent impact the core experience that 343 created. I understand the delay on Forge tools to some degree, but the experience that 343 created is not bad. I enjoy the Halo Infinite campaign, but you cannot play it in a co-op capacity. One player only as of right now, and on top of that, mission replay is not available, so you cannot get a fire team together, and you cannot go back and replay individual campaign missions without restarting the entire campaign from scratch. Those are two very big glaring issues, but starting on July the 11th, they're going to be testing a fix to this. A new patch is coming out. The Campaign Network Co-op preview is starting on July the 11th. Now, a couple of bullet points here are being pulled out of the entire blog on the Halo Waypoint website. I highly recommend you go over, and if you are interested in playing Campaign Co-op, you need to read this entire blog because it gives you fantastic resources on how to make sure you are a Halo insider to get in on this preview flight, but there's also just a lot of details on how it works on the back end that I'm not going to be diving into today. But in short, here are the bullet points that I pulled out specifically. Starting on the week of July the 11th, for Halo Insiders, you can dive into the Campaign Network Co-op preview. This gives you access to the campaign in a co-op capacity, which means you can grab a fire team and dive in together. Very exciting stuff here. The key here is that your existing progress in the retail version of the game does not carry over into the campaign co-op test, which means if you've completed the game, you're starting from scratch. This is an entirely new build that is separate from your retail save. And on top of that, you're not going to be able to save any of the progress from the test, but you still get to check out and test the campaign co-op itself, which is a big win in my book. Now, Spartans can come together and play, but they are taking the lowest common denominator approach. So, if one person has completed a mission and the other has not, that mission is going to appear incomplete for everybody on the fire team, just to keep that lowest common denominator on track to complete the campaign. Not a big deal for those that have completed it because they probably want to go back and play through it anyway. I think this is a fantastic way to handle it. Now, on top of that, Mission Replay is also coming with this update, which includes both solo and co-op campaigns. So now you are going to be able to go to the map, dive in, and replay those missions. Great opportunity here to go back and check out some of those core gunfights that people love in the world of Halo Infinite. So this is really the part of the update that I personally am most excited about. The cool part here about the co-op is that progress is saved independently from your partner. So if you and a friend are diving into the campaign co-op, you are able to earn your own Spartan cores and equip them in the way that you see fit, and that stays in your save. You can take those into your single-player campaign, another co-op campaign. You are leveling your Master Chief in the same way that you are in the core-based game as you do today, which is phenomenal. There are problems, for instance, with Diablo 3, where sometimes your progress isn't saved properly, and it becomes a bigger issue when you are reliant on playing with somebody else. That is what they're trying to avoid here with Halo Infinite. Now, another interesting aspect that I picked up, and this is the final point that I really pulled out, are new achievements that are coming into the game, which include both some that are focused on replayable missions and some that are focused on co-op. So, for example, one of the achievements is going to be to challenge you to kill 10 enemies with a gravity hammer from the back of a vehicle being driven by your buddy. So that's kind of one that pushes you to engage in the game in a different way and explore this world of co-op. When it comes to the mission replay, based on what they are saying in the Halo Waypoint blog, it sounds like this is going to be similar to the hit the par time or hit the par score like we see in the Master Chief Collection. All of that being said, let's get to the nitty-gritty of it. Fantastic first step. I know this is just a preview. I know that there is a full update coming later this summer, but mission replay is a key element in me going back and enjoying the campaign, and I love the fact that there are new achievements. I am going to be grinding those without a doubt. That being said, the campaign co-op is great. It's a fantastic addition. The fact that I'm looking at key art with 4 Master Chiefs running around doesn't give me the right impression. This feels like a technological workaround. This feels like an afterthought that was tacked onto the campaign, in my opinion. Now, I know this has been the plan for a very long time, but it would have been nice to see a fire team digging in here. It would be nice to see my multiplayer character with my cosmetics getting involved here. I'm not a big fan of just having 4 Master Chiefs running around, and I know I'm getting picky here, but again, we're talking about a game that was delayed by a year, and we are now on month 8 after the game launched. It would be nice to see those cosmetics come into the campaign experience. All of that to the side, though. Good to see the preview coming. Am I going to dive in? I think I'm going to wait on this one. I think that I'm going to be checking this one out whenever the full launch comes later this year, when I can actually dive in, replay those campaign missions by myself, because I'm not really a big co-op guy. Now, I might dive in with a friend from time to time, but it is nice to see that they are making progress here, and I hope more progress continues to be made, because Halo Infinite's melee desync has not been fixed because devs have been allocated elsewhere, according to a 343 developer. Now, I will say this story was kind of taken out of context and extrapolated a little bit more than I think it really needed to be. You see conversations happening on Twitter about how can 343 continue to ignore the melee desync issues when it's such a glaring issue? I can't believe they don't have enough resources to allocate to this. And to some degree, I get those conversations. I understand that sentiment. But at the same time, let's hear what Mr. Berryhill has to say here. This report comes from VideoGamesChronicle.com, which writes a Reddit post on Monday complaining that Melee Collision is still incredibly broken, and including a video showing examples, was replied to by a member of the game's development team. Senior Sandbox designer Brian Berryhill, aka 343 Taxi, replied, "Just wanted to comment that we appreciate these types of compilations. Videos like this always get pulled into bug and task threads for UCN networking improvements." However, Berryhill then added that the issue may not be resolved immediately because the developers that would usually be responsible for addressing it are working on other tasks. He says, "I don't know if Twitter and Reddit is the best place to go into all the details about why there's been a lack of UCN improvement. There's a lot of factors, so I'll keep it brief. The TLDR is that the devs that would work on these fixes have been allocated to other Infinite work. Their work has had some knock-on benefit to our UCN solution, especially around movers, players' vehicles, etc., on top of devices like elevators, pistons, bridges, etc., but not around the melee and around-the-wall shots. These devs are coming home to Sandbox soon, hopefully. The community and competitive insights teams have done an amazing job at letting us know how frustrating these kinds of situations are. It is high on our priority of fixes." So that's pretty much where the news story ends, and it's nice to hear that this is a high priority item. But at the same time, this is a very competitive game. I mean, all weekend I've been watching Halo Esports earning some in-game cosmetics through their European tournament that's going on right now. And so when you have a competitive game like this, it's important to address these issues as soon as possible. And even outside of a competitive space, you still need to be able to give a stellar multiplayer competitive experience to anybody who dives into the game, no matter how good or how bad they might be at Halo Infinite. And so this is something that absolutely should be addressed, and it is a bit curious that people that would be fixing this are not only assigned to other items on Halo Infinite's roster of fixes, but even more so, you don't have somebody else that can dive in and help. I think that's kind of a concern for me. So just my 2 cents on the situation. As I said, I'm bringing up both of these stories, the competitive situation with the multiplayer desync, and on top of that, the Halo co-op campaign, to show some bad with some good, to show that progress is being made, but there is still much more progress to come. I'm excited to see more about what Halo Infinite brings in the future, but if the rumors are true and we're seeing Halo Infinite campaign content, expansion stuff come out in 2023, I don't know. That's a bit of a stretch for me. Again, I need more content. Season 3 is on the way. Season 2, I haven't really touched much since about 3 or 4 weeks after the launch. I just need more. I know that's a sentiment that is echoing throughout the community, and 343 is actively working to give it to us, but still, I just need some more content to get me back in here and some better fixes. I feel needy, but I think that's valid. So now I want to dive into 2 statements from 2 individual teams of developers. The first comes from Hypercharge Game over on Twitter, and for those that don't know, Hypercharge Game is this fantastic game that's been popping up on my timeline a lot recently that basically is the game that we all wanted growing up. This is, if you are a toy soldier in a toy aisle, it is the Call of Duty of that. It is a phenomenal looking third-person shooter that I absolutely cannot wait to get my hands on. It is confirmed to be coming to Xbox, but it seems that fans have been taking their passion for that game a little bit too far because of a statement that has been made by the developers, saying, "It deeply saddens me having to write this. However, I feel now is the time to speak up. It is not okay to send threats, abusive, toxic, foul-mouthed messages demanding an answer for a release date. For those who don't know, I am the entire marketing department for Hypercharge. This includes public relations, community management, customer relations, and more. It's a lot to take on, and it would be a lie if I told you the toxicity doesn't get me down sometimes, because it does. We as developers are not robots. Like you, we are human beings with feelings. We laugh, we cry, and sometimes eat cake and pizza while doing all of the above. But seriously, we're just trying to do the best we can. I completely understand the excitement and eagerness wanting Hypercharge to launch on Xbox. Rest assured, it will happen. Hopefully Xbox do not mind me saying this, but they are just wonderful people. They have reached out to us on multiple occasions about our plans for Hypercharge and have been nothing but supportive. They are watching us and the hype. There are 2 reasons we will not give a release date. The first, we don't have one. Second, we're not a big team, 5 indie devs, and want to give Xbox players the best version of Hypercharge possible, but this takes time. Once we are comfortable with where we are in development and with our marketing, we'll let you know in an ETA. Until then, to our Xbox fans who inspire and motivate us, we love you. From Joe at Digital Cyber Cherries. So this came after a Sony Santa Monica statement was put out because of some fans that are continuing to hound the developers around the release date or information regarding God of War Ragnarok. They say, quote, "Every single person at Sony Santa Monica Studio is working to create a game that we're proud of, one that we hope you will enjoy playing once released. Our fans inspire us, and we understand the passion and desire for more information. But that passion should not be toxic nor come at the expense of any human being's dignity. Let's celebrate our community by treating each other, every gamer and developer alike, with respect." Now, I want to bring this up on today's show because I want to tell you that if you think you're a fan of the game, if you think you're a fan of God of War, or you're a fan of the upcoming Hypercharge, let me give you a little PSA. If you are threatening developers, or you are hounding them day after day asking for release dates in a not kidding way, there are some Twitter accounts that'll say day 367 of asking for an update on, etc. That's one thing, in my opinion. But you've got to know when to stop. I mean, we're getting ready to talk about Ubisoft more in a moment on the show. Beyond Good and Evil 2. That game has been in the works since 2008. You can't continue to hound developers on where stuff is in a negative way, in a hostile way. When it comes to Hypercharge Unboxed, this game looks phenomenal. Give the developers all the time they need. Sony Santa Monica, Cory Barlog has said that this game is not delayed. It's going to be one of PlayStation 5's biggest games of the generation. Let it come out when it's ready. Let the team work. And if you're somebody who's sitting at home sending death threats, if you're somebody who's sitting at home sending any amount of hostility towards somebody who is working to create something good, take a step back, reevaluate, look at yourself, and think, is this how I would want to be treated? Is this how my family, if they were treated this way, I would react positively? Is that what I would want? Think about it. And I know that my community, for the most part, that I've seen is phenomenal. My community is filled with great people that I've met and talked to over the years. I love each and every one of you dearly. But for those that are just stopping through and you might see this message and you have done this kind of thing before, please don't, because it doesn't get the game out any sooner. And on top of that, could not only hinder the release date, more importantly, it hinders someone's sanity. Think about that. We're all just people. Jumping over to the next story of the day, Ubisoft is going to be at Gamescom 2022, August 24th through the 28th, and they say all of that in a tweet that says, "See you at Gamescom, August 24th through the 28th. Stay tuned for more news." My biggest question is, what are they going to talk about? Because we don't have too much Ubisoft going on right now. So I was curious as to what Ubisoft even had cooking. You know, what could potentially be coming. So I headed over to IGN, and they have a list of every Ubisoft game in development right now. We have a game called The Settlers, which I have not heard of personally, and it has been moved from March 17th to an unannounced date. Outside of that, we have the new Avatar game that's coming out. We have Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. We have Rocksmith Plus, Skull and Bones, which could get some news this coming week. Tom Clancy's The Division Heartland is coming, which is a free-to-play The Division game. Assassin's Creed Infinity, which I don't think we're personally going to be seeing. Assassin's Creed VR, Beyond Good and Evil 2. Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time remake, which got pushed after it was negatively received, which I think was a fantastic move. Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Frontline, another free-to-play game. Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell remake, which is coming at some point. X-Defiant, which is another Tom Clancy game. An Ubisoft Star Wars game. We also have Project Q, the NFT thing that was announced a couple of months ago, which they say will not have NFTs, but seems very NFT-like. So that's kind of a general rundown of what they have cooking right now. And in my opinion, you're going to be seeing a lot of free-to-play. You're going to be seeing Heartlands, 100%, almost guaranteed. X-Defiant, I think that one might get canceled. That's just me, though. I think you could see some Frontlines as well. I think they're going to bring free-to-play to the focus. I think that's going to be their in. Now, the question is, how egregious will these microtransactions be? And my heart says they're probably bad. But TBD on that one, we'll have to wait and see how that all shakes out. I'm expecting some deep gameplay on Skull and Bones. Hopefully that one comes out in 2022. I can't imagine you're going to be getting news about the next Assassin's Creed game after Dawn of Ragnarok launched earlier this year. Seems like a poor plan to just kind of put the next Assassin's Creed game out when your current DLC is as big as a standalone game itself and it's performing very well. So that doesn't really make too much sense. And then, of course, probably going to be some Avatar content in there as well. That's just my 2 cents on what's coming. I would love to hear what you think Ubisoft is going to show at this year's show down below. But August 24th through the 28th, you can certainly tune in, get some news. Should be a pretty good time. But we'll see how much they actually bring to the table. Ubisoft has been in a very weird spot. It's a weird time for the company. To round out today's show, we have the July Games with Gold coming to you starting on July the 1st. Beast of Maravilla Island is available the 1st through the 31st. Relicta is available July 16th to August 15th. Thrillville Off the Rails is coming July 1st through the 15th. And Torchlight is available July 16th through the 31st. I don't really have much else to say here. They're free games. If you have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate or Xbox Live Gold, you can dive in and give them a shot. I think the coolest one on the list is probably Torchlight, just because that one is a throwback, pretty cool little dungeon game there. But outside of that, really scraping the bottom of the barrel, in my opinion. Just my 2 cents on that. But hey, they're included with your subscription, so you might as well give it a shot. It kind of is sad though, because it says with $54.96 in value and 3,200 in gamer score. Is that a pride thing? Is that a proud of that? Okay. That wraps up this week's episode of Xhibition, an Xbox podcast. If you enjoyed the show and you're new here, hit that subscribe button on YouTube or on your podcast platform of choice. And if you want more of me, some jokes throughout the week, some gaming news, be sure to hit the TikTok, tiktok.com/@jampacksam. I'm posting some pretty funny stuff over there if I do say so myself, so go ahead, give it a shot if you are over there. But until next time, you guys have a fantastic rest of the week. I'll talk to you soon, and keep on playing.